In this corner, we have certainty. In this corner, we have connection, love. In this corner, we have uncertainty, excitement. Okay. This falls in line with two categories. Up here is the ego, and up here is the heart and emotion. Okay, so that's that. Now, what does this embody? This entire left-hand side, this embodies the human experience. Okay. Perfect. On the right-hand side, and again, I don't really know to what level you guys believe in things after life or not. That doesn't matter, but I'm going to include it anyway because you'll find it one way or another. Spiritual experience is over here. And these two are actually very interlinked. And even if you're an atheist and don't believe in this stuff, on the right-hand side, that's okay. The left-hand side will still help you. So here, we have growth. And here we have contribution. Okay, so how does all this relate to what we're talking about, and how does it come out in trading? Well, let's call a spade first of all. Typically speaking, whenever you're, when you come from, be it poverty, middle class, when you come from a place where you don't have much, or you have limited means, or you cannot exercise what feels like life at the grandest level that you think is the grandest level. For most people, what does that mean? That means having nice, comfortable life, being able to take vacations, chalets, travel when they want, buy the boat, buy the house, buy the rental property, have the nice sports car. That's how people feel important and significant. That's how it comes out usually, right? Is in those things. It attaches to the significance portion of your psychology because you want to feel significant. You want to feel like you matter. You want to feel like you're not a piece of shit. You're not, useless. You're not something or someone that you can't be proud of. Okay. And this is actually human need. It's an experience. Okay. And I mean, you guys know my upbringing and my background. So, I came from nothing, right? And went through a couple of financial decimations because father died, 08 financial crisis, all that sort of stuff back to back. On top of that, I grew up in a very sort of tough militant father style. So, there was definitely moments of I don't feel significant. So I had to go and become significant. And I think whether you guys will ever tell me this personal story and be the vulnerable that I'm with you right now or not, it doesn't matter. But there's an element to most of us aviators. Now, I don't know if everybody here is an aviator, but most of us pilots, there is an element of wanting to feel significant. It's kind of when you get that fourth bar, you feel that, right? That's behind it, okay? And what ends up happening is when you start getting significance in your life, and when you start experiencing that I'm a captain, I am this, I have that, I have money in my account, I have a real estate, I have, I'm set up. With it comes certainty, right? Naturally, there comes a level of certainty. You have a level of certainty as a six-figure professional that somebody who's making $10 an hour doesn't have, naturally. Okay. And what ends up happening is whenever you are in the far left-hand bracket, so you're basically falling under the ego segment. So you're very dominant on the left-hand side. Okay. A lot of your actions come out from the space of needing to feel significant and needing certainty. That's how your psychology drives your human behavior, your human interaction, and also how you decide as a trader, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, okay? The problem is with that is if you're not well balanced, if you don't actually fall within the centerpiece, if you're not balanced with everything, and if you're too far on the left-hand corner of this level of psychology, what ends up happening is when, let's just say you're very, very far left. Whenever things start happening that forces you into this segment of the human experience, such as uncertainty, the stock is panicking, oh, this thing that worked before doesn't work anymore. What the fuck? Like those things that I'm talking about, when you go through a massive run in the markets and the markets stop, and now you're like, what? What happened? That's what I'm talking about. The natural response is doubt, depression, agony, worry, concern, right? All those emotion, human experiences, which eventually leads to discouragement, and leads to lack of action, and leads to being timid, being fearful. I mean, take it to the next level. So when somebody's too far on the left-hand side, a balancing act brings them to the center, right? And that's the experience that a lot of you experience in the market. So specifically with a lot of us professionals who have a level of certainty and a level of significance in our lives, the market challenges this part in us when things go into uncertain mode, when things aren't working anymore, okay? And what ends up happening is if we're very dominant on the left-hand side of the graph here, we also tend to have struggles in our relationships. We tend to have struggles in, like, we spend too much time trying to become significant. We spend too much time trying to trade. We spend too much time picking up overtime at work. We start spending too much time creating certainty in our bank account, and we start walking away from our connection, our family, our loved ones, making new connections, making new networks. We start walking away from them. And that within itself has been proven time and time over. You guys can do all the study you want online, go and research the shit out of this, that whenever you reduce the level of connection, love in your life, so that could be friends, family, kids, wife, whatever, husband, your actual intelligence and consciousness takes a massive toll. Your intelligence starts dipping. You know, something as simple as like a hug, I found this out just yesterday, actually improves your IQ. Think about that. Like, just think about that for a second. Right? So when you reduce that level of intimacy in your life and the emotional experience, which we're all human, we have emotions, you will short yourself long term. So how does this translate into the markets? What this translates into the markets is you need to identify where you fall. For most people, most professionals, okay, the order of the human experience goes something like this. In order of significance, it's number one, significance. Number two, it's creating certainty. Number three is a little bit of uncertainty. They like a little bit of uncertainty, like, we set thrust for takeoff. Ooh, who knows? I mean, ultimately, we should rotate. But who knows? At the end of the day, what the fuck's going to happen? That's why we have the calls that we got, right? So there's an uncertainty, the freedom of, we're taking a fucking 300 passenger airplane across the ocean. There's uncertainty there. There's absolutely uncertainty there. But how do we overcome that uncertainty? We fall back on our training, which really, if you want to take it to a step further, we fall back on the fact that if we follow our training, things should work out. So we have faith in our training. We have faith in the process. We have faith in the fact that if we do what we're supposed to do, we should get to the other side of the ocean safely. So how do we translate that exact same experience into the markets? Have faith in the process, guys. If I'm telling you, as the guy who is now 10 years ahead of most of you guys, calm down, it's going to be okay. Have faith in the process. Stick to 10%, 5%, stick to the reasons outside the chart, stick to these things. That is because I want you to start relating a good habit, start forming good habits with how you handle uncertainty. This is like, what do we do in case of a V1 cut? That's what this is, handling uncertainty. And then what ends up happening is we finally end up at connection and love. And when the markets are down, it's difficult to even have connection and love because you're so heavily focused on significance and certainty that it impacts your day to the point where you might not be present with family, be present with your loved ones. So how do we solve this, right? This is the big what if. How do we solve this? How we solve this is we look at this as a moving target, okay? There comes times in the market where you absolutely have to be dialed in. There comes times in your career you have to be absolutely dialed in. Think of your PPC. You got to be dialed in so that you can create significance tomorrow when you go to work and have certainty that you have a paycheck coming in. Okay, same thing in the markets. When the markets are going hot and things are happening, and then we're talking about the run from November to December that's about to come up here. Absolutely dial full speed into this because that's where you create significance and certainty. Be involved. trade, be aggressive, be there ready to pull the trigger. Don't think twice about it. Have your due diligence done and then pull the trigger, stick to your cut loss. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay? But when things slow down, and this is the beautiful thing, and this has been my experience, I'm just passing it back to you guys. When things slow down, shift this target back. Shift it back to the other side, to the right side, where you're focusing family, focusing loved ones, connection, new friendships, networking, going golfing, Renee and Francis. Okay? Get used to that, because this is the level of the uncertainty that you have to go through to ultimately balance out your human experience, because you cannot always be going up. You cannot always create certainty. You cannot always be making money. It just doesn't work like that. Talk to a top level executive. It doesn't work like that. Okay? So you have to bring the target back. And that's when it's the downtime. When the markets are chilled out, take a break. Trade once a week. Don't trade 5 days a week. Okay? So what we're learning here is this is a moving target for most professionals. It's not a balanced act. For most professionals, they're actually very much left-hand side driven on this chart. And how we balance this out in a year is you gotta make sure you flip back and forth. You gotta move this target back and forth and make sure your loved ones and your connected ones understand that you're going through this very thing. Maybe have them watch this video when you log into your dashboard so they can understand what you're going through. Okay. On the spiritual side, and this is something that happens a lot more when you start questioning what's the point of life, which usually happens when you have made enough significance and you have enough certainty. The question becomes, what's the point? Right? Like, I mean, so I want you guys to imagine this. Sit in my shoes. Bank account's full. Investments are doing great. Your money is fine. You have certainty. You can sit here and do this for decades and nothing will happen. When you have that, you will unnaturally start wondering, okay, well, what the fuck? What's going on? What's the point? What's the point of all this shit? Now I have it, right? And that's where when you start tapping into the spiritual experience that a lot of rich people struggle with. Okay, they really struggle with this. Because if they are, let's say, by default atheists and they don't believe in anything, it's very difficult to connect with the spiritual experience that you're going through. Now, most of us, I think we're curious enough to wonder, is there something after? Is there something that we're working towards? Is there bigger forces? All that stuff. Most of us have that curiosity. I don't think anyone can be ignorant enough to say we don't have that. And if you're there, then listen to what I'm about to say. When you have this balanced act, when this is completely balanced, okay, figure it out, and your money is in place, you have love connections, you have certainty, you have a little bit of uncertainty, you have that, sports car, whatever the stuff is that you makes uncertain, you have the connection to love, the human experience is set. You start questioning what the point of all this is, and that's where the growth and contribution comes from. So growth is investment in self. That's something that I just posted about, I think it was a month ago. We talked about how much money we just this year alone have spent on personal development and coaching. And then the second component is contribution. How do you give back, right? Like not just donations, not just money. This coaching program is contribution from my part. Yeah, you paid for it to get in here. That's because you need the lesson more than I do, right? Because you need to get over discomfort. You need to grow, right? But this is contribution. This is what I wake up to. This is what I help people with. This is what gives me purpose. This gives my spiritual side of purpose. So you have to decide what that's for you. For a lot of people, one of the other things I've been thinking about recently is going and serving in like soup kitchens and stuff, like with homeless people, especially here in Edmonton. It's fucking cold. So maybe some more, staff on hands. Actual things that money can't buy. Contribution, right? That's what's going to elevate the spiritual experience. So what I usually say is if you can connect connection and love with spiritual, okay? Connection and love is your contribution side, okay? And uncertainty and excitement is where you experience growth. If you can connect those two dots, your downtimes are taken care of. The next time the market takes a toll, you're going through growth. This is uncertainty. This is where I need to exercise faith. I need to fall back on my training. I need to fall back on trust in the process. This is where I learn to trust, okay? Just like we have the saying in the airplane, flying the wing, you trust the wing, probably even more than the goddamn airspeed indicator, okay? Same thing applies here. It's the trust of being immersed in what you're doing, okay, guys? I'm sure none of you were expecting this lesson. I'm sure because you're all here to learn how to make money and technical analysis and fundamentals and private placements. But we can't ignore the human experience and the spiritual experiences we are going through with the red and the green and making money and losing money, and it's all part of it. Okay.